bays, and then they can change it from hole 1-4, like the first bay is 1-4-5, and so. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Mitchell with the Lake Houston Economic Development Partnership, and I'm here with you for our first inaugural Coffee Talk with EDP. And I've got Rick Alspaugh here with me with Ace Alspaugh in Kingwood, and we're looking to have just a dialogue around resiliency related to Hurricane Harvey. I want to thank our main sponsor for this event today, Edward Jones, specifically Trey Hill. Trey, appreciate you taking a chance on this first inaugural event, and we're looking forward to more for the rest of the year. Essentially what we want to do today is really talk about how businesses suffered during Harvey and then what they had to do during that course of recovery. And so I think Rick is a great testament to both resiliency, fortitude, courage, and just say stick-to-itiveness as far as getting Ace Alspaugh back open. And so his story is not necessarily unique, but it's one that's kind of overwhelming. And so we're just going to have a dialogue, and hopefully you all send us some questions during the interview, and we'll get things rolling. So Rick, welcome, and appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. So let's just get rolling. I mean, if you can, just take a few minutes and tell us about the damage, because there's a lot of folks out there in Houston and the broader United States that essentially think we've gone on about business. It's been 10 months since the hurricane, and they probably think everything is back to normal. I don't think they understand the magnitude of Hurricane Harvey and what it meant to the Lake Houston area. So tell us about really what happened to your location during the hurricane.
Yeah, I will. And again, thank you for having me. And I'm not the only one that was injured in this. I mean, there are so many guys. Nathan at the barbershop, he lost his whole barbershop. Steve Califf lost the Kodak. The Allen boys just put in all brand new cabinets in their store, and they all washed away. 3Bs, all those guys. Woody Barksdale had a brand new dentist office. I was talking to Mark Anderson, the eye doctor. He lost hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of eyeglass frames. I mean, you never thought about that. And then next door, the lady lost a $400,000 laser, face laser. So the losses are a lot more than just mine. But what we did at our store, August the 24th, my mom, my wife Kelly Nett, and Jim Benson, our store manager, we walked into the store, and it was an amazing sight. Just stuff outside was all disarrayed, but inside the store, I'd never believed what I would see. One, the good Lord was sitting on the paint counter, and he said, "Brother, we got a lot of work to do." Right. And he held our hand through this entire process and got us through it. That's the only way we got through it. We opened the door, pushed the debris away, and the stuff from this side of the store was over here, and this side of the stuff was over there. The store was completely shifted. The stuff that got washed.
So the water just came in and just moved everything on the inside. Right?
Well, from a previous, I think it was '94 when the Kingwood flooded before a little bit, not near as bad. Right. We had some water come out of the storm sewers because the river was coming back again that way. So as I was listening to everything, I said, you know what, the store is going to get wet. So we spent 2 days picking everything up about a foot. We had everything from the bottom shelves cleaned up and stacked neatly in the aisles. Well, all that floated up, and that's what was all over the store.
Gotcha.
And it was a mess. We lost everything from 3.5 foot down. Lost 27 computers. We took our... Since we knew the store was going to get wet, we just figured it would. We took all the computers and set them on the desk in every office. And every computer took 4 inches of water. So it just, the good thing about this is we've got all new systems. We've got all new computers. We've got an all new, luckily the mainframe was 6 foot in the air, just the way we store it to keep it clean. So the main hardware inventory computer and all that was safe, but all the peripherals we lost everything but one. We saved one computer that was set on the paint counter.
And so you actually have experienced flooding twice there. The first go around in '94 was just minimal as far as that, but the second one,
the store did not get wet. That's actually, they were building town center, and there was people kayaking. You could kayak from my store around to where the old HEB was. Lake Houston Parkway, The road going out of Randall's in front of Burger King had water in it, and all the town center you could kayak out of that bayou that came up.
Right.
So we were very fortunate. The store didn't get wet, but it was coming our way.
Right.
Stopped just in time.
Wow. And it's interesting because you and I have chatted several times about the damage and kind of what you went through. Talk to me about your employees. I mean, I think that's the shining example of all of this as far as how they kind of helped through this process.
I hope it's okay if I start crying, because when I talk about that part,
Right.
it's emotional.
Right.
We've always said we're going to be there for the community.
Right.
And I've told my employees forever, you take care of your family, get everything sound, and as soon as you can, get up here, because we're going to be here.
Right.
That's just how we've always done it. Been here for 30 years. And we actually opened in 3 days after the storm. Grant Chapman, a good old barbecue buddy of mine, gave me 4 18-wheeler trailers. He brought them out 3 days after the storm, and we were open. We had a container outside, and we took that one computer I told you we saved,
Right.
and we opened a point of sale, and we actually were selling hardware within 3 days. And all these employees just kept trickling in. I look up, there's another. Look up, there's another one. We did not buy from August the 24th to November the 18th when we opened. We ate lunch at the store every day, and there was anywhere from 20 to 40 people. That was either employees, vendors, contractors, whatever. All of a sudden, somebody at 11:30 would show up with food. And just the other dealers from Houston, our Green Egg rep, Greg Grafaldo, came and cooked for us for the first 10 days, never left. And so we had a lot of really cool things happening, but the employees wouldn't leave. They just kept coming. And we would circle up and we would pray over that place and ask for guidance and ask for this to be done correctly. And we feel that it was. About halfway through this, of course, started running out of money. And I told the employees, I said, I can't pay you 40 hours anymore. I'm not letting anybody go, but we got to go to 32 hours.
And give us some scale as far as the number of employees, because I don't know that. I was shocked when you told me how many employees.
We have 75 employees.
That's a lot of people.
Well, we're a lot of them's part-time.
Okay.
We've got a lot of high school kids, a lot of older guys. But the crew that I have is so resilient and tough. The stories I've got, the pictures, when they're tearing out the floor, the girls that worked in the gift shop have got on rubber boots and gloves and scooping this stuff out and wheeling it out to the dumpsters. Everybody was there, and so we're circled up in this meeting at lunch, and I told them I can't pay you 40 hours anymore. We got to go to 32, and I'm crying and they're crying, and this young man raised his hand and goes, well, sir, we'll work for nothing. And everybody started clapping. They all, yeah, it was a really cool moment. I said, we can't do that. It's against the law. I got to pay you. Well, we don't care. They're like, we won't tell them, well, whatever.
Right.
It was heartwarming to me. It was really cool.
Right.
So we settled on $1 an hour.
Wow.
That was the compromise, that these people would work in this mess,
Right.
in this contaminated mess for $1 an hour,
Right.
because they just wanted to be there.
Right. Right.
And they stayed there. I got one employee that never missed one single day
Wow.
from August the 24th to November the 18th. We started, it was 100 degrees in the shade.
Right.
And there was 3 or 4 days through there that was 30 degrees. She never missed. That was my 90-year-old mom.
Wow.
She sat out underneath that tent watching those people come in and out of those trailers. And it was pretty cool.
Wow.
She was a good role model for people
For the
too.
rest.
But these guys never quit. And about, I don't remember the timing, it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks into it. I said, you guys remember the Saturday before Thanksgiving is Turkey Fridays. That's our cooking demonstration. That's November the 18th. We're sitting here, this is maybe the 1st of September, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th of September. The fixtures are still in there. The store's not even stripped yet. We hadn't even started. Sheetrock may have been started being cut out by then. And I said, we're going to open November 18th for Turkey Fridays.
Right.
And everybody goes like, okay. And by gosh, we did.
And the employees did the lion's share of the rehab, correct?
We did everything. Yeah. We had crews, Air and Electric came and did all electrical and the air conditioning stuff. We had to have, of course, we can't do that. Right. We had Vic's Plumbing came in and we put in a new bathroom. Because I asked the people, so what do you want different? They go, we want another bathroom. Right. So we went to the city and got a permit and put another bathroom in. And then we had all my guys. I say my guys, when I say that, I speak my crew, our crew, our family, hung all the sheetrock. But they said, we ain't taping, floating it. So we had a professional come in, tape and float it. Right. And we had some help with the painter come in. Faust Painting came in and helped us paint some stuff. Right. But our guys did, other than the contractor permittable stuff, our crew did everything. Wow. Never quit, man. It was humbling. We call it a team building remodel. Right. You know, I went through a horrific 2-year divorce. And just before this, I didn't get store back till July. And then the flood happened in August. Flood was easy. I was prepared. The good Lord prepared me for this mess, to walk through this with all these people holding my hand.
Yeah. And talk about the employees were a big piece, but you also told me some pretty amazing things with your vendors too. They kind of helped you through the process moving forward as well.
They did.
Yeah.
The barbecue pit vendors, between Big Green Egg and Weber, they cooked for the first probably 2 months. First 6 weeks. They brought all the food and just cooked it. And then other guys, Lone Star, I think it was Lone Star, one of the steakhouses here, they lost all their power and everything, but they had a freezer full of steaks. They brought them to us. So we cooked for all the first responders, did a bunch of stuff for them, and then we got some of them too. So we ate ribeyes for 2 days. It's not like we were eating bologna. I mean, we ate pretty good.
Right.
But those guys really took good care of us. We would call vendors. We still call vendors today and say, oh, you're the guy that flooded. They'll send us fixtures. A lot of them gave us time on the inventory. Bonide, it's a lawn chemical. Replaced every single thing we lost at no charge. Wow. The president of Bonide he's very on the ground kind of guy and knows our store and knows what we do, and he goes, place it, done. Dave Martin with the city, and those guys from San Antonio San Antonio cleaned about all of Kingwood. That was their contract with the city of Houston. One of those guys came and they hauled away, I think it was 14, 15, 16, 20 pallets of mulch that got wet. So I had a good blessing from the city. Gosh, the vendor stuff just goes on and on and on. Ace Hardware did some really creative financing for us to help us get through some things. They gave us time. They gave us, we just sent back some stuff that came in the opening order that wasn't right, and they helped us do that. We had a contractor come in that we paid to set up all the fixtures and merchandise of the store. They gave us all kinds of grace and time. So, I mean, it's been amazing how the world has helped us do this kind of stuff. And the community never gave up on us. I don't know any numbers, but I'm guessing there's still 1,500 homes out there that don't have folks in them. My number I hear is there's 3,000 that got wet. And I think it's about half is still not in them.
Now, did you have any of your employees lose their homes as well?
11.
11.
I say lose. 11 got wet.
Okay.
I don't think anybody actually lost them. I still have 4 or 5 living upstairs. Wow. They hadn't even started their process because there's no contractors. There's no stuff available. Right. So they're just kind of living upstairs, getting through the process. Some are about done, but I had 11 folks get wet. We did some fundraisers for them through the store. We had a tip jar on the counter for them, so we came up with a couple $1,000s for them. And then the Houston ACE group got together, and any ACE employee in the city of Houston that got wet, they could send in like your chamber money. They could send in a request and had a little store detail, and they got money from the Houston ACE dealer group. So my 11 employees were compensated through those guys some too, so that helped them. But their spirit, I mean, their house is flooded, and they're helping me clean the store up. I'm like, dude, go home, do your own stuff.
Right.
No, we're at a place where it's okay for now. We need to get this. And it was, again, another humbling thing to where it wasn't about them. It was about, we got to get the store back open for the community.
Right.
Just the desire that those folks had was and still is amazing. It is so humbling to me that God blessed me with all these people to make this happen.
So you
Relatively easy,
Right.
in so many words.
Gotcha. Now, one of the things we talked about as well, and it's tough, and this has been a tough conversation for both of us because you're in business to serve your customers, right? And so part of my role is to make sure that businesses are viable. And so after a disaster, you essentially need some kind of support to kind of get your legs back up under you. I mean, the government's kind of bailed out the airlines, they bailed out the financial institutions, they bailed out the automotive industry, but there's not a designated program specifically for small business after disaster. Now, the Small Business Administration is there, but a higher percentage of money goes to residential end users than necessarily businesses. So talk a little bit about what you had to go through from a traditional banking perspective with the SBA, with grants, and whatever else you needed to work on to kind of get your business back up and running, because I know it was a pretty daunting journey.
It was, and it still is. I mean, we're in a rather large hole. We lost about probably $800,000 or $900,000 in inventory, and then we lost another 500 in just stuff. So we're at about $1.2 million, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, when you get to that part, I mean, what is it? The dumpster fees was $87,000 to haul the stuff off. So that kind of gives you an idea. We had a hazmat the hazmat disposal was about $35,000 because I had 14 pounds of fertilizer that got wet. That's hazardous, so that had to go through a hazmat company. They came in, took all the hazardous stuff away. Then we just put the rest of it in the landfill. We threw everything away that was 3.5 foot down. I couldn't take a chance of cleaning something and then selling it and it's contaminated. We threw away 14 brand new big green eggs. I think it was 46 brand new barbecue pits in a box. Took them on a box, loaded them on a trailer, and took them to the scrapyard and watched the guy smash them because we couldn't have him resell them and come back to us that it's contaminated. Because it was. Everything was contaminated. You think you can take a 9/16 wrench and scrub it off and sell it. Well, if there's one little piece of contamination, a guy rubs his eye and he gets contaminated, well, there I am. So for a $5 wrench or a $200 wrench, I got a $2 million lawsuit because I've made somebody sick. So we just bit the bullet and threw everything away. That's where Ace graced us to kind of help us get the stuff back. But our bank has been very easy with us. They're working with us to try to get some things. First Financial has been just incredible. Johnny Brooks and them have been really working with us to try to get us through this. We filed for an SBA loan September the 20th, and I still have
September the 20th of 2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when we started that process because my very first application paper, I had to re-sign it. A little bit of story on that, and I don't want to bust the SBA, but they got a lot of processes. I had to verify all my identities. If I was Rick Alspaugh, Richard Dean Alspaugh, Richard Dean Alspaugh Jr., Richard Dean Alspaugh, back and forth. And then he said, well, who's Richard Alspaugh? I said, that was my father. He says, well, where's he? I said, well, he died 21 years ago. They go, well, could you send us a copy of his obituary? So some of that I don't understand. And I hope I get some of that SBA money because that'll make life easier. Because we, in this remodel, this rebuild, it was one of those things to open when we did. It was one of those things we kind of had to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. We just jumped in. We ordered stuff. We got stuff. The first couple weeks, I'm excited. I'm ordering a forklift. I'm ordering a generator. I'm getting all this stuff in, getting going. So I call my insurance man. I said, okay, I'm going to need to start getting some claims going because I just bought a new generator, just bought a new forklift. I got to go buy 2 new trucks, 3 new trucks. So I got some expenses here. We need to get some stuff going. He goes, you don't have insurance. Didn't have flood insurance.
Okay.
Covered if it burnt, covered if it blew away, covered with all that kind of stuff. Business interruption. I can go do all that stuff if it would have burned or blowed away. But rising water, I didn't have business interruption. I didn't have anything. So all of a sudden, it's like, oops. So that's when we started regrouping and kind of just trying to figure out and just trying to get enough grace to get the thing going. It was very expensive to redo. Thank goodness for ACE and the financing that they gave me to do the fixtures.
Right.
I mean, it was $100,000 worth of new fixtures, and then it cost another $100,000 to have them put up. So there's $200,000 in just the bare shells assembled. Then the product comes in. The first order with ACE was, I think, $320,000. So, and again, we're doing our normal volume, which we're very blessed with, but we were down to like a third of 16th of that.
Right.
So we didn't have a whole lot of income. So everything that was going out, there was nothing coming back in to rebuild it. We were so blessed now. We had a great December. We had a normal December. The day we opened, November 18th, was Turkey Fridays. It was great. We had a great weekend. The rest of November was phenomenal, and December was a normal December. So the community blessed us with coming in and supporting us with that. So that kind of took a lot of the sting out of it, and then it's just we're back to like we're doing what we call the shoebox method of the bill paying. Okay. Everything's in a shoebox, and we pull one out. Well, he gets $500 today.
Right.
I mean that's all we can do, and we call all the vendors, and they're been pretty good to us. Some of them are getting a little cranky now, but you know.
Well, it's been 10 months. I mean,
it's been 10 months, yeah. And everybody says, you know, we're going to give you 60, 90 days dating, and that's great. But all of a sudden, the 60, 90 days is up, and it's like, uh-oh. But we're digging through it. We're, like I say, the good Lord's still holding our hand. He's walking us through it every day and giving us the discernment to make the right decisions and just slow down, take a deep breath, and make it all happen.
Right. Right, and so process-wise, you're almost at the finish line with the SBA. Is that a fair?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Okay.
The lady called me and said, this part of the process is finished. Well, now turn it over to legal. I don't know what that means. It was turned over to legal, I know, 5 months ago. I actually closed on the loan April 15th. Okay. Met at the Humble Civic Center and signed the papers and closed on the loan then. But to your point, there's the guys I mentioned. There's Tony Allen, there's Tony Raffa, there's Steve Califf, there's Woody Barksdale, there's all these guys that are over here, the guys from 3Bs, me, that are frontline guys. We're mom and pop shops, and we don't need $100 million. You know, we don't need $20 million. If we all have just a couple $100,000, that would help us get some of the bills paid before this thing hit.
And stabilize your companies for long term, right? Where you can be prepared. Because
Exactly.
we're back in hurricane season for 18 already.
Well, on the way to this show, I'm talking to Jim Benson on the phone because we're ordering hurricane supplies for our truck that comes tomorrow. Okay. Because there's something out there now. We don't know where it's going to go. Well, in the rebuild of the store, we're buying PVC parts and we're buying A items just to kind of get the store back up. We don't have any storm supplies. Right. So we're buying propane, the little cylinders, and more batteries and flashlights that we don't have the abundance of. That's what's on this truck today. Right. So here we are trying to just milk this thing and get through it. Well, I've got to buy $20,000 worth of storm stuff just so I can be ready. That's another part of the process that we go through as a store, because we are going to be ready for folks. Right. Well, I'll go to Dallas and get it if I have to. Our warehouse is in Wilmer, and I got a truck, and I'll run my guys up there and pick up supplies and have them here for when the folks need them. Right.
And so I'm assuming, and you mentioned you didn't have flood insurance, and so I'm assuming you've probably got
a nice policy now. We do, and I verified that again last week.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. I mean, this month is Resiliency Month, and so we've done a couple of things out in the community. We had an insurance policyholder symposium last Friday. We brought in a law firm that represents both residential and commercial policyholders to educate them on the difference between, the national flood insurance and private flood insurance, and the differential of what that means as far as you might pay a little bit more in premium with a private, but you're going to have much more direct access and arbitration ability with that money as opposed to the government program, which are essentially trying to sue the government if you're not happy with the claim you get. So we've been kind of pushing through this. And I think we've got an event coming up June 21st as well that kind of speaks to preparedness, cloud storage, and that type of readiness, if you will. So talk to me a little bit about that. What have you done differently in the store now as far as being prepared for this coming hurricane season, as far as how you guys set the store up?
The store is we just changed the whole dynamics of the store just because we could and we wanted it different. But that's still an evolution we're going through right now. We're still trying to say, like, okay, we're going to quit talking about the storm. We're going to move on from it. But we can't, because there's so much stuff still tied. It's just like a death. My dad died 21 years ago. Well, we don't dwell on it. Now we revel in his life and we celebrate his life, but it still happened. The flood still happened. It's very evident. You go by and there's a seam on the wall where the sheetrock was cut. There's no floors in the store, so it's the evidence is still there. But what we're doing is we're changing how we do the computers. Of course, we're going to do them differently. The inventory part of it, that's just a moving target. That's a crapshoot or a guess. We're actually talking to a guy about a product called Aquadam. It's a plastic tube you fill full of water that keeps the water out. So the store wouldn't flood again.
And so essentially surround the store with, and that's essentially what Home Depot did on 59. They had sandbags and concrete cinder blocks, and they had that 3-foot rise in the parking lot between Best Buy and them, and that's how they did their protection as far as their store. I mean, it sounds like this might be a little bit more sophisticated than the
It's built to keep flooding out of nuclear power plants. They make them 20 foot tall, and the guy's literally coming out like this Thursday. And we're going to look at this product, and if we can figure out how to get it full, it's about 1,500 feet around the store, so it looks like it's going to be about 15 pieces. They're 100 foot long, got to fill them full of water. I've told you all I know about it. So that's going to be a pretty big thing. If we can figure that out, and if we can keep the store dry, that's going to be a biggie of what we're going to change going forward. I know they're working on the river. I know they're trying to figure out how to make it not flood. I know they're trying to figure out how to not push the button in Conroe. I know they're trying to figure out a lot of things. Right now, with the circumstances, the way everything is, I think we could flood pretty easy. I don't know. I don't know anything about it other than I've lived here for 30 years. I've been on that river for 30 years. I've run up and down that river, and I don't want it to rain a lot right now.
And I think that's a big part of all the effort that's been going on since August 25th, right? Where I think the community of the Houston Metro, and specifically the Lake Houston area, has been working really hard as far as not just the mitigation and remediation aspects, but also the business resiliency piece too, and making sure that, you know, we've got the Back to Business campaign, we've got the Lake Houston Harvey grant program, and so we're doing the best we can as far as kind of getting out there and working with folks like you, and I appreciate you pushing out referrals as far as how the grant program works, because it's tough, because that's not where you're thinking. You know, you're not thinking about grant programs. You're thinking about, how do I keep my lights on and how do I get customers in the door? So being able to showcase you and what you've been able to do is really important, to let the other business people out there know that there are resources out there and there are community engagement opportunities as far as kind of helping you kind of get over the hump. So that's been really helpful for us as far as being able to kind of push that message forward too. So, and
I'm going to, because y'all have given us 2 grants. I mean, we've got 2 different grants, and they were huge. The first grant finished our lunches for the entire rebuild. Like I said, we had the first 6-8 weeks were taken care of by the vendors, but I still had to do lunch. And that grant money paid for our lunches and part of the forklift.
Perfect. Well, now that we're almost 10 months out, we're already back in the hurricane season. What was probably there? This is twofold. I'm going to ask you to do 2 things. What was the most challenging thing for you, and is there anything, with what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently in preparation for this? And then we'll kind of wrap up with, you know, what are the 3 big takeaways that you have for business owners as we kind of go into the new hurricane season? So what was your most daunting challenge? And then lesson learned, what would you have done differently, and what advice can you give our business owners for the area?
The biggest challenge was probably just throwing the stuff away. I'm not a stuff kind of guy, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with this stuff. It needs to be rinsed off. But again, like I said, I can't take the chance of contaminating somebody or something or some episode. So that was huge. The rest of it, like I say, it was easy. With God's help and those 75 people, I say it was easy. It was a hell of a lot of work, man.
Right.
I mean, it was nasty. It was hot. It was funky.
Right.
It was dangerous. Had, I only think, 2 stitches and 3 tetanus shots. So we got through unscathed. Right. But the process was easy because of the tenacity and the drive and the grace that we were given. So that part was easy. Dealing with just the processes, that was kind of challenging. I mean, the sheetrock's not here yet. Well, okay, when it gets here, it'll get here, and we'll put it up, and we'll hang it, and we'll tape it. I mean, so those are some of the challenges. But there was nothing, and I say this, other than the event, there was nothing that I can say that was like, dude, that was terrible.
Right. Well, I mean, it was a biblical event when you think of it. And even as we talk about hurricane preparedness and mitigation and remediation, I don't think we can build our infrastructure out to withstand 51 inches of rain. But what we can do is make it so instead of 4,000 homes flooding, maybe we can get that number down to something much more manageable than 4,000. So that, I think, is what we're all striving for.
Exactly.
And so what would you give as far as advice, as far as the business owners that are out there now and they're looking down the barrel of the next hurricane season?
Yeah.
What would you say to them as far as insurance and cloud storage and preparedness and all that good
Well,
stuff?
the first thing is instantly get insurance because you got a 30-day waiting period. I mean, this event that's in the Gulf right now, if something happens, nobody can get it insured anyway because you got a 30-day waiting period. If anybody in this area, Lake Houston area, that did flood or didn't flood, that doesn't have flood insurance, again, I'm not an insurance salesman, but man, I wish I'd had it. And I had an insurance man for 30 years. That was another thing about the SBA because they were so concerned that I switched insurance people. Why did you switch insurance people just weeks after the flood? It's because I've been with him 30 years and he didn't tell me he didn't have flood insurance. Right. And the guy goes, oh, I understand.
Right.
So I do have a new insurance man now, and I do have flood insurance. I would highly recommend getting that. As far as preparing your actual location for it, man, you're going to take 3 or 4 foot of water to pick everything up. Yeah. I don't know how you can do that. I don't know how to do that. Right. In my situation, it's impossible. We raised everything up a foot and it made a bigger mess. Right. Because it all flooded and floated away. Computers, we'll definitely do them different. We'll store them different. Again, we're going to try to do this aqua dam. We're going to try to keep the water out. Right. We can't do it with sandbags. I mean, 3.5 foot of water, you can't do that with sandbags. Yeah. Right. But just pray. Just pray and just hope it doesn't happen again, and be ready when it does, and just have the grace to go in there and do it over. Right. I don't want to do it again. I don't. I mean, it was a heck of a lot of fun to do the first time, and big team building remodel, and it was an amazing evolution is what we went through.
So you all are bonded sufficiently now where you don't
completely
need another
different.
Catastrophe.
There's no longer Alspaugh's Garden Center. There's no longer Alspaugh's Gift Shop. There's no longer Alspaugh's Pit House. There's no longer Alspaugh's Paint Department. There's Alspaugh's. Right. It's all one store, one thing, one group that's all oaring the boat the same way.
Wow. Well, Rick, we appreciate you being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for letting me tell the story.
Hopefully this has been a great learning opportunity for the businesses. And we're going to essentially end up with thanking Edward Jones again. Trey Hill in particular. Trey's in the audience with us. He didn't want to be on camera. So their support of this inaugural event, I think, is going to be really helpful to us. We're working now on a couple of things for future coffee talks or whatever. So we appreciate you being our our first in the chair, and look forward
pleasure.
to seeing Alspaugh for a long time in the community. Thank you very much.
We're going to
Rick.
be there.
Appreciate it.
A lot of help. We're
All
going to
right.
be there.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Okay.